Dearest gentle listeners, you are listening to the Ladies Bridgerton, the talk of the ton. We are your effervescent hosts, your neighborhood-friendly Kiwi Tosh from Middle Earth, New Zealand.
And Patty, Regency romance enthusiast, currently writing her strong, confident, intelligent, independent, and dependable era.
Settle down onto your favorite settee as we delve into the lives of the elite and illustrious ladies, lords, and royalty of the ton. This Bridgerton podcast is two friends talking romance, symbolism, Easter eggs, and R.I.P. Felicity. We won't be talking about you deep diving into anything, into the connections of our favorite characters. We cover both book, TV series, and notable social media, and therefore will contain spoilers.
Yeah, so does this mean Jess Brownell is like worse than George R.R. Martin?
She just pretends our favorite characters don't even exist.
Like, doesn't even, well, that would have been Chris Van Dusen too. Like, Felicity, we don't need Felicity.
He was like, look, we already watched the TV series Felicity. We're done with her. That's so 90s.
Felicity is so, and that's funny because she was writing this in the 90s because it came out in 2002.
Yeah.
Dearest listeners, backed by popular demand, we read from Romancing Mr. Bridgerton. We want to step back in time to the Portia takedown and read the scene we could not get because Felicity was not given a series iteration. Rip Felicity. So enjoy our hero worship of my favorite book scene for its humor and Penelope truth. One moment while I move to the snacks theme.
Crackers, butter, meats, and cheese. I sure love charcuterie. Berries, nuts, and candy. Sugar-coated, bathed in honey. Come Sour Patch. If you give me snacks. Give me snacks.
So if you're wondering who is the creator of that song, her name is Faraday. You can find her on TikTok at I am Faraday or I love Faraday or something like that. Just look up Faraday. It is spelled Farideh. And you can order her songs on iTunes, which is what I did when I asked her on TikTok if I could use it for my podcast because it's perfect.
Give me snacks.
Give me snack.
It's literally perfect for our podcast snack segment. Okay, what are your pod snacks for the day?
Okay, so Patty's been a busy bee this weekend and I completely forgot to eat this whole morning. Then I had some random oatmeal just so I didn't pass out. So I decided to treat myself and I ordered from the Bell because they brought back their decades menu. So I just got to eat chili cheese burritos. They were one of my favorites back in the day. And I also have, and I'm going to say rip the maple creams because Smaug suggested I get the maple creams. And I'm not a huge maple fan, so I didn't think I would love them. But
can you
tore that bag
explain
up
to me?
So
is it like
I have caramel apple, which is my favorite.
Is it like a caramel cream egg except with Werther's inside?
No, it's the Werther's like this, the chewy caramel.
Yeah.
But the maple, this one's candy apple. These were my favorites before he introduced me to the maple creams.
Are they a limited edition kind of a thing?
Yes, they're seasonal. So this is just what the caramel looks like.
I need you to buy a packet, and even if it takes 2 years to get here, put them aside for me.
I will buy you some. Because he was like, if you don't like them, send them to me. And I'm like, shh.
No, I have
almost
dibs.
the whole bag.
I have dibs.
I ate that whole bag. Yes.
Yeah.
I couldn't stop. I tried moving it away from me. I tried putting it over on the counter. I tried everything.
My friends used to.
Have you ever had a cow tail?
No, I've never even heard of it. I tend to not eat that part of the cow. I don't eat cow at all.
They're called cow tails, but they're like a stick that's like this long of chewable like caramel, and it's got white cream in the center. That's basically That's basically what these maple creams are, but it's Werther's caramel, and the white cream is less, like just a little bit in the center. It's seriously the perfect snack. Sweet snack, like phenomenal. So good. But my candy apple ones are still.
I don't know. My snacks of the day are pretty phenomenal. In New Zealand we
pizza
have
with lava sauce on it. No.
I have ordered pizzas. Pizza bases because I'm lazy to make pizzas this week, so that's going to be super fun. That is very good timing actually because I get my student on a Wednesday and pizzas are I'm skipping. Okay, let's go back. Pod snacks.
I don't want to know what you're eating on Wednesday. I want to know what you're eating today.
Well, you started talking about pizzas, okay? I have these little fudge bars that come from a little place called Hamner Springs, which is a little tourist town, which is like an onsen hot pool theme park. And it's about 2 hours from Christchurch. And there's a couple tourist towns in New Zealand that sell this specific fudge. And my favorite one of all is a creme brulee fudge. And they are just the richest, smoothest, but not, I mean, they are pretty sweet. So I only have like a little slither at a time. I've had this one for 3 weeks. This is the size that it started as. So you can see that I've literally only like taken maybe an inch of it down. Because it is very decadent and they're expensive and really not good for my skin. So I just
It's bad for me, but it tastes so good.
It's bad for my skin. It's good for my soul, which has been pretty exceptionally sad this last week.
Yes.
So we
How
will
are you doing?
move on to pod news. As I said,
You're like, I'm not even going to talk about it.
No. In the pod news, as I posted on the Facebook page a week ago, I lost my little girl Lily. She was 16 years old. And I think just moving to the house, she was coping really well, but she couldn't do stairs. And I do wonder, Ezra had run past her earlier that morning and knocked her as she was trying to come down the stairs, and she fell down 4 stairs. And I do wonder whether that just triggered her to have the seizure. And after an hour of seizing, the vet said at 16 years old, an hour seizure, they couldn't stop it. They tried multiple medications and it wouldn't stop. So we had to make the call, which was really, really tough.
One of the worst. You have to pet any pet.
I mean,
we fall in love with our fur babies, just like we do our...
I keep expecting to see her. You know, I see movement out of the corner of my eye and I expect it to be Lily. And I need people to stop wearing white socks around me, okay? Because otherwise, white down low, I keep thinking it's Lily and it's not, and it makes me sad. So if everyone in my life could just convert to black, pink, I don't care. Just please stop wearing white socks.
Tell them wear pink for Lily.
Yeah, wow. So it triggers me a little bit. And then other big news happening for me this week is we weren't expecting it till next year, but we have a young girl coming to come live with us till December. She is a German foreign exchange student and she needed an emergency placement for whatever reason. And so with a few days notice, I'm going to become a mum to a teenager for the next 2 months. And then as of next,
see what it was kind of like for me as a foster parent.
Going in with no like relationship built and just trying to tell this teenager how to live their life is going to be a very interesting time.
The beauty of a teenager, they'll tell you you should live your life.
I'm about to be told that I'm not hip enough. And it's so funny because my best friend Val, that one that was asking me whether to get married in summer or Christchurch or New Zealand, she's only 4 years younger than me. And yet I feel like we are just legions apart. Like when I think back to where I was at turning 30 years, because she turns 30 in a week, you know, I'm like, I was so different by 30. Like, I'm just a mum to my bones. Like, my life was about at 30 years old.
If it helps, I'm way older than you, but I don't feel like we have that big of an age difference.
No, because I'm old in my soul.
And I'm getting in touch with my inner child, so I'm not as old as my bones feel. We'll just say that.
I mean, to be fair, like it's not that I'm old. Like I'm not like a shut-in or anything like that.
Old,
like
no, you just like, have different priorities in your life.
Yeah, like I get out and you know, like I go parks and I go like nice walks through the parks and we go do lots of adventures and like we get out a lot and we do really cool like fun family things and that. But like if people need to get things done, they come to me because I'm the person to get things done, if that makes sense.
Yeah, but I also think like you have such a built-in social network with how big your family is that you don't need all of the networking activities that most people do to find friends. You don't need to bar hop. You don't need to go join a club and stuff like that. You have built-in friends and the friends that you've culminated. I mean, you're and Steven's friends, a friend group before you guys even got together. Like, you know, there's something very not having this today, Daisy. You went out
We
before we
had
started.
one of the groups from our friend group over yesterday for the first time, and they have a 6-week-old baby who's my cousin because
Mm.
the boy in that group is actually, we found out on my wedding day that our granddads were brothers, which was really funny. He goes, "You have a stringer table," and I said, "Yeah, that's my auntie's." And he goes, "Tash, that's my auntie's." And I'm like, "No, no, that's my auntie." And he's our groomsman.
When your family is so big that you're friends with somebody who is a cousin
For 10 years.
for
For 10 years.
10
Hung
years
out
and you don't
every
even
weekend.
know. Yeah.
Yes, hung out every weekend for 10 years and somehow did not know. It was on my mum's side, not my dad's. But hence him not realizing, because it's my mum's maiden name, not my last name.
Right.
Yeah, so they were over to come introduce their new baby to me because obviously I've been too busy to see anyone with this house move and everything. And then all of a sudden my dad walks in the door and she's like, "Oh, brilliant. Now, Billy gets to meet his whole family. This is great." And then like 20-30 minutes later, Stephen's boss walks through the front door and she was like, "Is your house normally like this?" And I'm like, "I want to say no, but a little bit." And then 2 hours later, one of Stephen's workmates and his kid turns up to come help do the solar install as well. And they're like, "Your house is just like open to everyone." I'm like, "Yeah."
Well, and like, I sold my big fireplace today and it turns out it's to somebody I went to school with. And they were supposed to be here at 4 because I told them, like, I need to push this so that I can get everything done because I wasn't able to get Cameron to come help me. But this needs to be done because I podcast tonight. So I need to be done and ready to podcast by 5:30. And then they were running late. And I'm like, you know what? I don't know. We get interrupted all the time anyway, so it'll be fine. Just show up when you can. We'll just take an intermittent. I don't know why I was so focused on, it has to be done by this certain time because I podcast, because literally you have people showing up all the time. I'm having to let the dogs out. Randomly, somebody calls me. I'm like, we get interrupted all the time.
Life happens.
It'll be fine.
As part of my pod snacks, to go back to that, I have 2 coffees today because the deal that I got came with only a medium coffee. And as you can tell, I've not slept in a week since Lily passed. I just have not really slept at all.
And your whole family's sick. Stephen's sick. Ezra's been sick.
Yeah, my mum and dad are both sick too from Ezra.
Good
I'm the only one who hasn't come down.
Your whole family's like, why did our little boy have to go to kindy?
That was exactly what Dad said to the boss yesterday. He's betrayed us. But I have 2 coffees going today, which I've never done before. Tandem drink coffees. One hot, one cold. This is going to be an interesting day, and you guys get to be along for the ride. Woo!
Woohoo! Bridgerton ride. Well, today's an easy podcast because we are going to read chapter 14 of Romancing Mr Bridgerton, which is the chapter where Colin enters the home of the Featheringtons to ask for Penelope's hand. And it is such amazing farce.
And it could have been dramatically different.
It could have been
dramatically different.
I'm trying to think of what it makes me think of in terms of farce. Like, I mean, it really is like the likes of, say, I don't know if you've ever seen Three's Company, which was an older TV show in the US, where there's so much miscommunication and somebody only hearing part of a conversation that the misunderstanding is what brought the humor. Somebody is thinking somebody's, say, cheating on someone because they only heard half of a conversation. Or somebody thinks, the premise is this guy, apartments are costing a lot. This guy needs a place to live. 2 of his friends that are female just had somebody move out. They have an open bedroom. They can move in and stay in the same room if he wants their thing. But it's unheard of for men and women to live together back then. So he has to play posh, if you know what I mean, for the landlord so they don't suspect it's too hetero, like that's a big no-no. So it just plays off from that. And it kind of gives me that vibe. Like, Portia is assuming one thing. Her sisters are assuming one thing. And the only people in the room who truly know what's going on are Colin, Penelope, and Felicity.
Felicity.
Rip Felicity.
R.I.
R.I.P.
I am
R.I.P. Felicity.
I am so excited that we get to do this because, for one, I really enjoy doing the book readings and then comparing them to their counterpart in the series. And this is
Mhm.
one where the vibe is still the same. The Colin smackdown is still the same, but how it
Putting
comes
Portia in her
about,
place. Yeah. The outcome
how
is
it
the
comes
same, but it's completely.
I don't know which one I prefer because both of the scenes are a masterclass in their own right. And I think each of them goes with, like, in the book, I think the book scene would have still made sense in the TV series. But personally, for me, the sex appeal of, like, it was like foreplay. Colin being
Mhm.
like the man of the house, our Bridgerton name, like that was foreplay to me of a man
Yes.
like protecting his woman.
And imagine, because show Colin is different than book Colin. Show Colin wants a purpose. Show Colin wants to white knight for Penelope. I mean, even since season 1, he white knighted for her all the time. He saved Marina from the old guy on the dance floor at Penelope's behest. So for him to walk in and to hear his beloved being treated like this by her own mother, I'm telling you, I don't understand how the two of them didn't start doing anything till they got to that Bloomsbury house.
It would have been another carriage ride 2.0.
Right. She's looking at him like, oh my, that man
Damn,
of mine.
boy.
And he's like, come with me. I am taking you away from here. Like, shit would have started in the carriage again. It just would have. It would have been it would have been so funny to me if they would have walked into that drawing room just already disheveled AF. That would have been so funny. In the rom-com season, we needed it. I mean, still clothed, but just like they've been kissing the whole time.
Yeah.
It would have been great.
Yeah. Red in the face. Yeah. I just can't believe she stayed still for that whole carriage ride. Like,
How?
Penelope
I want to know
and I
how.
are wildly different people.
Yes. And he was, I mean, I understand his nervousness because, you know,
When someone's dead quiet for like a 15-minute ride or something crazy,
15,
like
20 minutes, he's like, what is wrong with her?
I messed up. Like, I shouldn't have been so disrespectful to your mom, or like,
Is
you
she
know, like,
mad at me? Yeah.
Yeah, I would have been deep in my thoughts of like, uh-oh, did I take it too far? Like, why is this?
Yeah.
Do you like me still?
Colin's like, uh-oh, SpaghettiOs.
Circle yes, but you want to keep me, put an extra no if, you know.
Do you still want to marry me? Check yes, no, or maybe.
Oh, no. Yeah. Oh, all right. Now we must make haste into today's episode.
And now, to be fair, and for, you know, as we're learning in this world of podcast and YouTube and everything, Romancing Mr. Bridgerton is written by Julia. She is the original. Just for copyright purposes, we're going to give the flowers where they're due. We are about to read from a chapter of Romancing Mr. Bridgerton, written by Julia.
I wrote it before I was even old enough to write.
I was in college. I'll claim it. No.
I mean, to be fair, I do remember writing like stories for class and my teachers being like, could you write less? This is so much to mark.
I'm going to out myself, and I don't know if any or how many people that I might have gone to high school with are listening or have become listeners. I have no idea. But in high school, I wrote little romance short stories, and they were not totally chaste, and they got passed around the school. And nobody knew who wrote. I was Lady Whistledown. Nobody knew who wrote it. It was only me and my two girlfriends, Teresa and Christy, knew I was writing them. And they were my distributors because I would give it. Christy was
XOXO Gossip Girl.
Christy was across the room in our study hall from us. And so Teresa would take the papers when I was done. And then she'd like go over because, you know, this is still the land of I need to sharpen my pencil at the wall kind of thing. So she walks across the room and then drops it folded up on Christy's lap because we were in the music room. So we just had chairs, no desk. And then Christy would get to read it. She'd read it first. And I never got them back. And then find out they're being passed around the school and everybody's wondering who wrote them. And I mean, they weren't gross. They were just not, they didn't just hold hands. That's all I'm saying. But so if you went to high school with me in the country of Ohio, and I mean the countryside of Ohio,
Bloody
And you
Americans
remember-
trying to claim.
And you remember reading a short story about a girl and a boy that went to an amusement park, like a little fair or whatever, for a date, and made out and stuff there. I wrote. And a few other stories, but that was
Funny.
that
Finally
particular
outing
story.
yourself.
Yeah, all these years
45.
later. All these. What? You're saying I wrote it when I was 4? No.
Yeah.
You're like 45 years later.
started-
I'm 49. I wrote it in 19.
I was exaggerating in that I remember that you are actually
I wrote it in 1990/1990 year.
90.
Maybe I called you forth so that we could someday talk about romances together.
On that note, she hit the pavement. I don't know why, but I love this. Like, Penelope was so stunned by that carriage ride that she goes to go hop out. She hit the pavement.
Her legs are jelly. And what happened in the carriage in the show didn't even happen in the book. So I think in the show, it could have, and I think I said this on my TikTok, that it should have played.
I wish that they had.
It could have played out like she would not have been able to stand up, like,
because they did play her as being like incredibly dazed and
confused.
like,
yeah.
Dazed and confused. Yeah. So it would have made complete sense for that to happen. Okay, I shall read as follows. She hit the pavement. Penelope was, in her opinion at least, a bit more graceful than people gave her credit for. She was a good dancer, could play the piano with her fingers arched perfectly, and could usually navigate a crowded room without bumping into an uncommon amount of people or furniture. But when Colin made his rather matter-of-fact proposal, her foot, at the time halfway out of the carriage, found only air. Her left hip found the curb, and her head found Colin's toes. Good God, Penelope, he exclaimed, crouching down. Are you all right? Just fine. She managed to get out, searching for the hole in the ground that must have just opened up so that she could crawl into it and die. Are you certain? It's nothing, really, she replied, holding her cheek, which she was certain now sported a perfect imprint of the top of Colin's boot. Just a bit surprised. That is all. Why? Why? She echoed. Yes, why? She blinked once, twice, then again. Well, it might have to do with your mentioning marriage. He yanked her unceremoniously to her feet, nearly dislocating her shoulder in the process. Well, what did you think I would say? She stared at him in disbelief. Was he mad? Not that, she replied finally. I'm not a complete bore, he muttered. She brushed dust and pebbles off her sleeves. I never said you were. I can assure you, he continued, now looking mortally offended, that I do not behave as I did with a woman of your background without rendering a marriage proposal. Penelope's mouth fell open, leaving her feeling rather like an owl. Hoot hoot. That part's not part of the book. Just my own commentary.
I think they figured out when we put in our own commentary.
Don't you have a reply? He demanded. I'm still trying to figure out what you said, she admitted. He planted his hands on his hips and stared at her with a decided lack of indulgence. You must admit, she said, her chin dipping until she was regarding him rather dubiously through her lashes. It did sound rather like you've, how did you say it? Rendered marriage proposals before? Arena. He scowled at her. Of course I haven't. Now take my arm before it starts to rain. She looked up at the clear blue sky. At the rate you're going, he said impatiently, we'll be here for days. She cleared her throat. Surely you can forgive me my lack of composure in the face of such a tremendous surprise. Now who's speaking in circles? He muttered. I beg your pardon. His hand tightened on her arm. Let's just get going. Colin! She nearly shrieked, tripping over her feet as she stumbled up the stairs. Are you sure? No time like the present, he said, almost jauntily. He seemed quite pleased with himself, which puzzled her, because she would have bet her entire fortune, and as Lady Whistledown, she'd amassed quite a fortune, that he had not intended to ask her to marry him until the moment his carriage had ground to a halt in front of her house. Perhaps not even until the words had left his lips. He turned to her. Do I need to knock? No, He knocked anyway. or rather banged, if one wanted to be particular about it. Brierly, Penelope said through an attempted smile as the butler opened the door to receive them. Miss Penelope, he murmured, one brow raising. In surprise, he nodded at Colin. Mr. Bridgerton? Is Mrs. Featherington home? Colin asked brusquely. Yes, but... Excellent. Colin barged in, pulling Penelope along with him. Where is she?
In the drawing room, but I should tell you. But Colin was already halfway down the hall, Penelope one step behind him. Not that she could be anywhere else, seeing as how his hand was wrapped rather tightly around her upper arm. Mr. Bridgerton, the butler yelled out, sounding slightly panicked. Penelope twisted, even as her feet continued to follow Colin. Brierly never panicked about anything. If he didn't think she and Colin ought to enter the drawing room, he had to have a very good reason. Maybe even... Oh no. Penelope dug in her heels, skidding along the hardwood floor as Colin dragged her along by her arm. Colin, she said, gulping on the first syllable. Colin! What? He said, not breaking his stride. I really think... Ah! Her skidding heels hit the edge of the runner carpet, sending her flying forward. He caught her neatly and set her on her feet. What is it? She glanced nervously at the floor at the door to the drawing room. It was slightly ajar, but maybe there was enough noise inside so that her mother hadn't yet heard them approach. Penelope, Colin prompted impatiently. There was still time to escape, wasn't there? She looked frantically about. Not that she was likely to find a solution to her problems anywhere in the hall. Penelope, Colin said, now tapping his foot. What the devil is the matter? She looked back to Brierly, who simply shrugged his shoulders. This really might not be the best time to my mother. He raised one brow, looking rather like the butler had just seconds earlier. You're not planning to use me, are you? No, of course not, she said hastily, even though she hadn't truly accepted the fact that he even intended to offer for her. Then this is an excellent time, he stated, his tone inviting no further protest. But it's what? Tuesday, she thought miserably. And it was just past noon, which meant, let's go. Or, hold on, let me say that the right way. Which meant, let's go, Colin said.
Let's go.
Let's
do this.
Like in one interview, let's go. Striding forward, and before she could stop him, he pushed open the door. Colin's first thought upon stepping into the drawing room was that the day, while certainly not proceeding in any manner he might have anticipated when he'd risen from bed that morning, was turning out to be a most excellent endeavor. Marriage to Penelope was an eminently sensible idea, and surprisingly appealing as well, if their recent encounter in the carriage was any indication. His second thought was that he just entered his worst nightmare, because Penelope's mother was not alone in the drawing room. Every last Featherington, current and former, was there, along with assorted spouses and even a cat. It was the most frightening assemblage of people Colin had ever witnessed. Penelope's family was, well, except for Felicity,
R.I.P.
whom he'd always held in some suspicion. How could one truly trust anyone who was such good friends with Hyacinth? Her family was, well, he couldn't think of a good word for it. Certainly nothing complimentary, although he'd like to think he could have avoided an outright insult. And really, was there a word that effectively combined slightly dim, overly talkative, rather meddlesome, excruciatingly dull? And one couldn't forget this, not with Robert Huxley, a recent addition to the clan, uncommonly loud. So Colin just smiled, his great, big, friendly, slightly mischievous smile. It almost always worked, and today was no exception. The Featheringtons all smiled right back at him, and, thank God, said nothing. At least not right. Colin, Featherington said with visible surprise. How nice of you to bring Penelope home for our family meeting. Family meeting? He echoed. He looked at Penelope, who was standing next to him, looking rather ill. Every Tuesday, she said, smiling weakly. Didn't I mention it? No, he replied, even though it was obvious her question had been for the benefit of their audience. No, you didn't mention it. Bridgerton! Bellowed Robert Huxley, who was married to Penelope's eldest sister, Prudence, which is why we got Dankworth. Huxley, Colin returned, taking a discreet step back. Best to protect his eardrums in case Penelope's brother-in-law decided to leave his post near the window. Thankfully, Huxley stayed put, but Penelope's other brother-in-law, the well-meaning but vacant-minded Nigel Burbrook, did cross the room. greeting Colin with a hearty slap on the back. Wasn't expecting you, Berbrook said jovially. No, Colin murmured. I wouldn't think so. Just family, after all, Berbrook said. And you're not family. Not my family, at least. Not yet, anyway, Colin murmured, stealing a glance at Penelope. She was lush.
Then he looked back at Mrs. Featherington, who looked as if she might faint from excitement. Colin groaned through his smile. He hadn't meant for her to hear his comment about possibly joining the family. For some reason, he'd wanted to retain an element of surprise before he asked for Penelope's hand. If Portia Featherington knew his intentions ahead of time, she'd likely twist the whole thing around, in her mind at least, so that somehow she had somehow orchestrated the match herself. And for some reason, Colin found that exceedingly distasteful. I hope I'm not intruding, he said to Mrs. Featherington. No, of course not, she said quickly. We are delighted to have you here at a family gathering. But she looked rather odd, not precisely undecided about his presence there, but certainly unsure of what her next move should be. She was chewing on her lower lip, and then she darted a furtive glance at Felicity, of all people. Colin turned to Felicity. She was looking at Penelope, a secret smile fixed to her face. Penelope was glaring at her mother. Her mouth her mouth twisted into an irritated grimace. Colin's gaze went from Featherington to Featherington to Featherington. Something was clearly simmering under the surface here. And if he weren't trying to figure out A, how to avoid being trapped into conversation with Penelope's relations, while B, somehow managing to issue a proposal of marriage at the same time, well, he'd be rather curious as to what was causing all the secret, underhanded glances being tossed back and forth between the Featherington women. Mrs. Featherington cast one last glance at Felicity, did a little gesture that Colin could have sworn meant sit up straight, then fixed her attention on Colin. Won't you sit down? She asked, smiling widely and patting the seat next to her on the sofa. Of course, he murmured, because there was really no getting out of it now. He still had to ask for Penelope's hand in marriage, and even if he didn't particularly want to do it in front of every last Featherington and their two inane spouses, he was stuck here, at least until a polite opportunity to make his escape presented itself.
Pause, Daisy started.
He turned and offered his arm to the woman he intended to make his bride. Penelope? Yes, of course, she stammered, placing her hand at the crook of his elbow. Oh, yes, Mrs. Featherington said, as if she'd completely forgotten about her daughter's presence. Terribly sorry, Penelope. Didn't see you. Won't you please go and ask cook to increase our order? We'll surely need more food with Mr. Bridgerton here. Of course, Penelope said, the corners of her lips quivering. Can't she ring for it? Colin asked loudly. What? Miss Featherington said distractedly. Well, I suppose she could, but it would take longer and Penelope doesn't mind, do you? Penelope gave her head a little shake. I mind, Colin said. Mrs. Featherington let out a little, of surprise, then said, very well, but Penelope, why don't you sit there? She motioned to a chair that was not quite situated to be a part of the inner conversation circle. Felicity, who was seated directly across from her mother, jumped up. Penelope, please take my seat. No, Miss Featherington said firmly. You have been feeling under the weather, Felicity. You need to sit.
Colin thought where Felicity went. She was.
Colin thought Felicity looked like the picture of perfect health. But she sat back down. Penelope, Prudence said loudly from over by the window, I need to speak with you. Penelope glanced helplessly from Colin to Prudence to Felicity to her mother. Colin yanked her in closer. I need to speak with her as well, he said smoothly. Right. Well, I suppose there is room for the both of you, Mrs. Featherington said, scooting over on the sofa. Colin was caught between the good manners that he had been drummed into his head since birth and the overwhelming urge to strangle the woman who would someday be his mother-in-law. He had no idea why she was treating Penelope like some sort of lesser-favoured stepchild, but really, it had to stop. What brings you this way? Yelled Robert Huxley. Colin touched his ears. He couldn't help himself, then said, I was... Goodness, blustered Mrs. Featherington. We do not mean to interrogate our guests, do we? Colin hadn't really thought Huxley's question constituted an interrogation, but he didn't really want to insult Mrs. Featherington by saying so. So he merely nodded and said something completely meaningless like, yes, well, of course. Of course what? Said Philippa. Philippa was married to Nigel Berbrook, and Colin had always thought it was a rather good match indeed. Burn!
Burn.
I'm sorry, he queried. You said, of course. Philippa said, of course what? I don't know. Colin said, oh, well then, why did you? Philippa, Mrs. Featherington said loudly, perhaps you should fetch the food, since Penelope has forgotten to ring for it. Oh, I'm sorry, Penelope said quickly, starting to rise to her feet. Don't worry, Colin said through a smooth smile, grabbing hold of her hand and yanking her back down. Your mother said Prudence can go. Philippa, Penelope said. What about Philippa? She said Philippa could go, not Prudence. He wondered what had happened to her brain, because somewhere between his carriage and this sofa, it had clearly disappeared. Does it matter? He asked. No, not really, but Felicity! Mrs. Featherington interrupted. Why don't you tell Mr. Bridgerton about your watercolors?
Felicity! For the life of him, Colin couldn't imagine a less interesting topic, except maybe for Philippa's watercolors. But he nonetheless turned to the youngest Featherington with a friendly smile and asked, and how are your watercolors? But Felicity, bless her heart, gave him a rather friendly smile herself and said nothing but, I imagine they're fine, thank you. Mrs. Featherington looked as if she'd just swallowed a live eel, then exclaimed, Felicity! Yes, Felicity said sweetly. You didn't tell him that you'd won an award. She turned to Colin. Felicity's watercolors are very unique. She turned back to Felicity. Do tell Mr. Bridgerton about your award. Oh, I don't imagine he is interested in that. Of course he is, Mrs. Featherington ground out. Normally, Colin would have chimed in with, of course I am, since he was, after all, an exceedingly affable fellow. But doing so would have validated Mrs. Featherington's statement and perhaps more critically, ruined Felicity's good fun. And Felicity appeared to be having a lot of fun. Philippa, she said, weren't you going to go after the food? Why am I doing Felicity like she's the one sister from Ever After?
Yeah. The snooty.
I'm here for the food.
The mini Araminta sort. What is it? It's going to bother me.
Not mini Araminta. The other one. I'm sorry, Mama. I was only here for the food. I'm doing her voice for Felicity.
I mean, she is a Felicity.
Yeah.
Right,
Philippa replied. Forgot all about it. I do that a lot. Come along, Nigel. You can keep me company. Righto, Nigel beamed. And then he and Philippa left the room, giggling all the way. Colin reaffirmed his conviction that the Berbrook-Featherington match had been a good one. Indeed. I think I shall go out to the garden, Prudence suddenly announced, taking hold of her husband's arm. Penelope, why don't you come with me? Penelope opened her mouth a few seconds before she figured out what to say, leaving her looking a little bit like a confused fish, but in Colin's opinion, a rather fetching fish, if such a thing were possible. Finally, her chin took on a resolute mien, and she said, I don't think so, Prudence. Penelope, Mrs. Featherington explained. I need you to show me something, Prudence ground out. I really think I'm needed here, Penelope replied. I can join you later this afternoon if you like. I need you now. Penelope looked at her sister in surprise, clearly not expecting quite so much resistance. I'm sorry, Prudence, she reiterated. I believe I'm needed here. Nonsense, Mrs. Featherington said breezily. Felicity and I can keep Mr. Bridgerton company. Felicity jumped to her feet. Oh, no, she said. She exclaimed, her eyes round and innocent. I forgot something. What? Mrs. Featherington asked between her teeth. Could you possibly have forgotten? My watercolors. She turned to Colin with the sweet, mischievous smile. You did want to see them, didn't you? Of course, he murmured, deciding he very much liked Penelope's younger sister, seeing as how they are so unique. One might say they're uniquely ordinary, Felicity said with an overly earnest nod. Penelope, Mrs. Featherington said, obviously trying to hide her annoyance. Could you be so kind as to fetch Felicity's watercolors? Penelope doesn't know where they are, Felicity said quickly. Why don't you tell her? For God's sake, Colin finally exploded. Let Felicity go. I need a private moment with you anyway. It was the first time Colin Bridgerton had ever lost his temper in public. Beside him, Colin heard Penelope let out a little gasp, but when he glanced at her, she was hiding a tiny smile behind her hand, and that made him feel. "Dick, private moment?" Mrs. Featherington echoed, her hand fluttering to her chest. She glanced over at Prudence and Robert, who were still standing by the window. They immediately left the room, although not without a fair bit of grumbling on Prudence's part. "Penelope," Mrs. Featherington said, "perhaps you should accompany Felicity." "Penelope will remain," Colin ground out. "Penelope?" Mrs. Featherington asked doubtfully. "Yes," he said slowly, in case she still didn't understand. "Penelope." But Colin gave her such a glare that she actually drew back and folded her hands in her lap. "I'm gone," Felicity chirped, sailing out of the room. But before she closed the door behind her, Colin saw her give a quick wink to Penelope, and Penelope smiled, love for her younger sister shining clearly in her eyes. Colin relaxed. He hadn't realized just how tense Penelope's misery was making, and she was definitely miserable. Good God, he couldn't wait to remove her from the bosom of her ridiculous family. Mrs. Featherington's lips spread into a feeble attempt at a smile. She looked from Colin to Penelope and back again, and then finally said, "You desired a word?" "Yes," he replied, eager to get this done with. "I would be honored if you would grant me your daughter's hand in marriage." For a moment, Miss Featherington made no reaction. Then her eyes grew round, her mouth grew round, her body was already round, and she clapped her hands together, unable to say anything other than, "Oh, oh," and then, "Felicity! Felicity!" Portia ran to the door and actually screamed like a fishwife, "Felicity! Felicity!" "Oh, Mother," Penelope closing her eye.
"Why are you summoning Felicity?" Colin asked, rising to his feet. Mrs. Featherington turned to him quizzically. "Don't you want to marry Felicity?" Colin actually thought he might be sick. "No, for God's sake, I don't want to marry Felicity," he snapped. "If I wanted to marry Felicity, I'd hardly have sent her upstairs for her bloody watercolors, would I?" Mrs. Featherington swallowed uncomfortably. "Mr. Bridgerton," she said, wringing her hands together, "I don't understand." He stared at her in horror, which then turned to disgust. "Penelope," he said, grabbing her hand and yanking her until she was pressed close to his side. "I want to marry Penelope." "Penelope?" Mrs. Featherington echoed. But what?" he interrupted, his voice pure menace. But, it's all right, Colin," Penelope said hastily. No, it's not all right," he exploded. "I've never given any indication I'm the least bit interested in Felicity." Felicity appeared in the door, clapped her hand over her mouth, and quickly disappeared, wisely shutting the door behind her. "Yes," Penelope said kingly, shooting a quick look at her mother, "but Felicity is unmarried and—" "So are you," he pointed out. "I know, but I'm old and Felicity is an infant," he spat. "Good God! Marrying her would be like marrying Hyacinth." Except for the incest," Penelope said. He gave her an extremely unamused look. "Right," he said, mostly to fill the silence. "It's just a terrible misunderstanding, isn't it?" No one said anything, and Penelope looked at Colin pleadingly. "Isn't it?" "It certainly is," he muttered. She turned to her mother. "Mama, Penelope?" she murmured. And Penelope knew that her mother wasn't asking her a question. Rather, she was still expressing her disbelief that Colin would want to marry her. And oh, it hurt so much. You'd think she'd be used to it by now. "I would like to marry Mr. Bridgerton," Penelope said, trying to summon up as much quiet dignity as she could manage. "He asked me, and I said yes." "Well, of course you would say yes," her mother retorted. "You have to be an idiot to say no." "Mrs. Featherington," Colin said tightly, "I suggest you begin treating my future wife with a bit more respect." "Colin, it's not necessary," Penelope said, placing her hand on his arm. But the truth was, her heart was soaring. He might not love her, but he cared about her. No man could defend a woman with such fierce protectiveness without caring for her a little. "It is necessary," he returned. "For God's sake, Penelope, I arrived with you. I made it abundantly clear that I required your presence in the room, and I practically shoved Felicity out the door to fetch her watercolors. Why on earth would anyone think I wanted Felicity? Mrs. Featherington opened and closed her mouth several times before finally saying, I love Penelope, of course, but do you know her? He shot back. She's lovely and intelligent and has a fine sense of humor. Who wouldn't want to marry a woman like that? Penelope would have melted to the floor if she weren't already holding on to his hand, she whispered, not caring if her mother heard her, not even really caring if Colin heard her. Somehow she needed to say the words herself, not what she thought she was. Lady Danbury's face swam before her eyes, her expression warm and just a little bit cunning. Something more. Maybe Penelope was something more. And maybe Colin was the only other person to realize that as well. It made her love him all the more. Her mother cleared her throat, then stepped forward and gave Penelope a hug. It was, at first, a hesitant embrace on both of their parts, but then Portia tightened her arms around her third-born daughter, and with a choked cry, Penelope found herself returning the hug in equal measure. I do love you, Penelope, Portia said, and I am very pleased for you. She drew back and wiped a tear from her eye. I shall be lonely without you, of course, since I'd assumed we would grow old together, but this is what's best for you, and that, I suppose, is what being a mother is all about. Penelope let out a loud sniffle, then blindly reached for Colin's handkerchief, which he had already pulled from his pocket and was holding in front of her. You'll learn someday, Portia said, patting her on the arm. She turned to Colin and said, We are delighted to welcome you to the family. He nodded, not terribly warmly, but Penelope thought he'd made a rather nice effort considering how angry he had just been moments earlier. Penelope smiled and squeezed his hand, aware that she was about to embark on the adventure of her life.
I love it.
I feel like although it was wildly different from the TV series, I feel like we still got moments of it, that fierce protectiveness. And I love that we can kind of put a lot of the feelings that Penelope expressed that she is feeling in this moment in the book, and we can apply them to how she would have been feeling in that carriage ride heading to their house, because even though the scenario and what he was mad about was different, the vibe was still the same. It was still Colin defending her. It was still Colin defending that she was the most advantageous match. And it was Colin, without saying the words, I love you, saying I love you because these are all the things I love about you.
Yes, and I feel like the Portia takedown that we have in the show, although obviously it was written with a different writing team than season 1. I think that was the goal for the show from the beginning, based on reading this particular chapter, because we have the reference to being considered like Hyacinth in season 1. Marina says to her, he doesn't view you any more than a sister, just like Eloise or even little Hyacinth. Like that, and he even says here, Colin says she's an infant. So now we know what that line was intended to do in season 1. It was to make her feel like Colin doesn't view her as an equal, as a mature adult. She is still a child to him, and he finds that disgusting, right? So,
which reminded me of the argument with Marina in season 1.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, I think they had already decided that this Portia takedown was going to go differently, and they used parts of this in other seasons to give the impression and to play into Penelope's self-esteem issues based on what people in her family and her close circle say to her.
Because remind me, how old was Colin in this? 34 in the book?
33.
And Felicity is 18, 19?
Just 18. Like, she's just entered society. Or her and Hyacinth aren't even in society yet, I don't think.
That's a 15-year age gap. Like, he is 3 years off viably being her father.
Yeah, so technically in this season, Hyacinth is supposed to be 12 in season 3, and Penelope is 19 going on 20, and Colin is 23, or 22, 23. So 22, she's 12, that's 10 years. So in the book, she would have been like 23. So maybe Felicity was that young too, but I don't remember them. No, they were out in society because Penelope was their chaperone. they went to the Smythe Smiths together. So yeah, they were out in society. So, but she's still very young, and he views Hyacinth as a baby.
Hyacinth was already engaged to another man. Well, not engaged, but like engaged to be engaged, sort of thing. Like,
yeah,
she was in love with another man, and they were planning on getting married already. So like this whole scene was even more ridiculous. And like
you mean Felicity?
Sorry, Felicity. And when Portia started throwing out the idea of when Colin came back from Greece / Cyprus, and Portia started on this idea of Colin marrying Felicity, she was like, but mama, like Felicity's all but promised to la da la da 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 da. And she goes, well, yes, but like matches can change. Like he's a far more advantageous match. Like, why would we go for him when we could have a Bridgerton, you know? Like,
yeah, and I
say, you know, it's gotta collect them all. Pokemon.
But I like too that like that thing where when Colin's saying like if he reveals his cards too quickly, Portia will twist it as she does to make it seem like she arranged the match. I love that. Because like, that is like, exactly how Polly Walker has played. This. Yeah, exactly how Polly Walker has played Portia from season 1. And that's how she talks to her daughters. Like she had nothing to do with Mr. Finch. Mr. Finch showed up to their home and offered for Philippa, like not even offered, but said he was there to visit her, and he openly courted her. Portia did nothing. Yet in season 3, she goes, why are you not with the gentleman I have procured for you? Yeah. Like she totally took all of the credit. I mean,
credit where credit is due. She fought her husband to secure that match for Philippa. Like she was very like, that's my daughter. That's what's making her happy. You will fix this. She will marry him.
To keep the engagement together when it was
So I will partially give her that one. Partially. The marriage was because of her. The engagement and the affection, that was all Philippa.
So now, I'm not sure why they gave Nigel Burbrook to season 1 as the cad, right? But I do love that we go from Nigel Burbrook to Mr. Finch. Although they have the same personality, like dim but sweet. You know,
Nigel in the books is not as sweet. He's
not as dim as Finch. No,
he's that guy that you kind of avoid because he's irritating and loud, and I mean not as loud as Huxley.
No, Huxley is loud.
Huxley is the drunk guy at a football match who's screaming obscenities, and everyone is like
lifting
looking
up
around
his
awkwardly.
T-shirt, and he shaved the insignia into his chest hair, like
That is Robert Huxley, like the ultimate idiot. And especially when he's drunk, because like remember him like screaming out during a Smythe Smith, the Cressida Toombley
stuff.
announcement.
Yeah, he was yelling stuff all the time. Yeah,
obscenities. I really do feel for Colin. Like, I mean, to be fair, reading this back makes me dislike Colin more. Like, book Colin was not it. He was just always angry. And it's like, she tried to play off that, oh, he's such a happy, jovial, everything's all hunky-dory in the world of Colin Bridgerton, and I must be in love because now it's not hunky-dory while I'm in the world. I'm sorry, but no. If you are that angry all the time with the person that you are attracted to, courting, whatever you want to phrase it, that is toxic.
Let me ask you a question, though.
Toxic.
Yes, let me ask you a question, though. Remember back to the first time Stephen was introduced to your entire family, some function. And please tell me, like, I know he was overwhelmed. It's a lot of people. It's a lot. And now, okay, so now imagine him, first time he's meeting your entire family all at once. Like, Colin has gotten the Featheringtons in small doses. He's gotten Felicity at the house with Hyacinth. He's gotten Portia a little bit out in society, the sisters a little bit out in society, but not all of them together on their home.
And it was a lot.
Yes. Home court advantage, and it's chaos. It's a family meeting. Everybody's already tense, right? Like, and he walks into that. But no,
Colin is speaking English. Portia is speaking Italian.
Yes.
The girls are speaking Pig Latin. Felicity's like, why is no one speaking English? And
Penelope is like Penelope is like the only interpreter trying to help.
She's in subtitles trying to figure it out.
3 different languages. But like, tell me, if Stephen walked into your house and imagine your family was a little different and it was a big family and you kind of disappeared and he's like, he loves you. Tell me that he would not be overwhelmed with wanting to just be like, why do you guys not see this woman?
No, because he's also got a big family.
Yeah, so does Colin. But Colin just cannot understand why they can't see this person right in front of their faces. Everybody all the time is like, oh, Penelope, didn't see you there. Like this, and now it's her family. Now it's her family, and he is like, what?
Penelope is quiet. I am not quiet.
You're not quiet.
Everyone in my family knows that I am there.
But I'm just saying, like,
I know, I get the point, but
yeah, he's
just so unnecessarily angry. Like, he could have, if he was such a like happy-go-lucky, everything's funny, everything's hunky-dory in his life, he could have been just as amused by this whole situation as what we were.
But he tried. He put on his charming smile. He tried to navigate, but it was just getting worse and worse and worse.
It feels fake to me, though, when he's like, I hate that we kind of get the inner monologue of, you know, even the parts where he's like, I really should apologize to Penelope. I am a gentleman after all. That's in the chapter just prior to this one. And I'm like, it's giving masking to me. It's giving apologizing because it's what society expects of you, not because you actually want to do it.
Right. But that is the piece of Colin that I have been drilling for why it's feasible and believable that he's loved her from the beginning, because and that's the line I highlighted in this chapters where it said he is trying to use all of the good manners that have been drilled into his head since birth. And he is like, I must apologize because I'm a gentleman. I've got to do this because I'm a gentleman. It's been drilled into him. So it is drilled into him that you cannot speak of certain things in public. You cannot speak privately with a lady. You cannot do this. You cannot do that. And the show Colin we get is a little more cheekily rebellious. I don't see Colin as being quote unquote rebellious. I just think he's struggling to be anything other than his authentic self. Like he tries to mask, and he says in the carriage, I'm trying to be what everyone else wants me to be, and I just can't do it. And he finally finds the one person that says, okay, honey, you don't have to. I love you just the way you are. And then he gets to drop the facade.
I took it more as, you don't have to defend me. I'm used to it. I've come to expect that this is what my family thinks of me, and I don't expect anything other from them. It hurts. Yes, it hurts a lot, but it's also what I expect from them. So like, I know you want to defend me, but it is what it is, you know?
And yes, and there's this, and I'm going to bring this up because we never did do Bridgerton news at the beginning. Shame on us. But there are rumblings. We can talk about it. There are rumblings out.
Yeah.
There are rumblings out in the verse of, you know, issues with this season still. I mean, we're a year and almost a half past it, and people are still upset. And the one thing in this chapter that just struck me, and I brought up the Bridgerton news, and I'm gonna screw it up to try and pull it together. Hold on, I gotta rethread my needle of my brain.
Do you want to do that and get Daisy?
Yeah, I'll think. Where was I going? What were we talking about? I'll have it out.
You were threading something.
I know, before that. It was something in the chapter that linked to
Penelope saying it's fine, and that like she's come to expect her family to be that way, and she doesn't expect anything else from them. It's just sad.
I'm really struggling to remember my train of thought, though. I'm mad. It had something to do with current Bridgerton, not what we talked about. We talked about.
Well, we can do all the awards in our next podcast.
Yeah. So you just go ahead and talk. Maybe something you say will again. Because I'm so mad I lost it.
Okay.
My house is chaos though right now as I'm trying to figure out. I have to, you know how you like a big thing from a space, and I was using it for storage. So now I have everything everywhere, and I got to find new places for things, and I'm ADHD.
You're saying this to the girl that just uprooted her entire life after living in one place for 9 years straight.
I know. I'm not trying to say my life is worse than yours. I'm saying no.
I'm saying I know exactly how you feel because nothing has its home yet. Like everything is just in a temporary, like, do I like you there? And so literally every single day, my entire life is literally just, I don't think you work there. Let's move you over here. Let's move you over here. And now I'm considering changing over literally an entire pantry of food stuff and changing it out with a different cupboard because I'm like, why did I not put the food with the food part and put the plastics over that part instead? Why did I make these choices? Yeah.
Yeah. Felt. So
Because I
my
just
brain's
shoved
all
them
over the
somewhere to
place.
start with. I just shoved them somewhere to start with and was like, yeah, I'll figure it out later. Like they need to go to place and then see how they function. So now I've got to, but then I'll change it and then see like, where is everything? I don't understand. It is not for you to understand, in the
I
words of
really am trying to think
Anthony
like,
Bridgerton to Sienna. I was
yeah.
like,
Toxic. Oh, what were you saying about them being toxic? That's what started it.
I just find that Colin's behavior in this entire thing, this entire way that Julia Quinn has written him, is incredibly toxic. Like she thinks that somehow him being angry all the time is showing how much he loves her because he's so angry for her and with her, and like anger equals passion and passion equals love. No,
Well,
no,
and I can
get the
tell
F
you,
out of here. Get the F out of here, Julia Quinn.
reading a
No,
lot
I'm
of
not here.
romances from the late 90s and early 2000s, that was legit
You
a
know
thing.
what's
Like,
love? Bonding over cheese. You know what's
like
love? Waiting two
yes.
years for your wife. That is romantic love. Like there is a time in your life where like you don't enjoy reading the toxic. Like I remember reading this the first time and thinking, I don't super love it, but like it's fine, it's fine, it's fine. Because of the story, you know, and the characters were likable. And now I've read it back quite a few times, and Colin just irks me. And I do like that she wrote him better in future books. She wrote him as the kind of man
Yep.
that I wish him to be for Penelope. But in those first books, like in his book, sorry, like he's a brute, he's rude. He says things because they are expected to be said of him, not because it's actually how he feels. He's just obstinate all the time. Like, dude, get your head out of your ass. Your charmed bloody life. Like when she tells him off for him thinking his life is also difficult and I don't have a purpose and rah rah rah. And she's like, get a hold of yourself. I'm like, yes, get him. Because like this dude is actually entitled. Everything in his life is like handed to him. And he's a brat. He's actually a brat.
He's a brat. Yeah. So now he went from having hot boy summer to his brats.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was something along the
Bob
lines
Colin.
of that, like how Penelope like had just decided this was her life.
Yeah.
And so like it's something I really did just see recently that it was still being talked about. Like, you know, we and show Colin, series Colin is written so much better. He is husband Colin before Colin got married.
Yes.
Like they gave him the personality
they made post Colin, pre Colin.
Yeah, Julia improved Colin because fans loved Penelope so much. She didn't realize that Penelope was going to resonate the way she did with people.
Like so she wrote Penelope as the most background character ever. She's like, I didn't intend for Penelope to be an important character, but then people resonated with her so much that I had to make her important. And oh, now I have to make like a good partner for Colin. And it's like, excuse me, our gal Penelope is not an afterthought. And it's funny because book Penelope was an afterthought and series Colin is an afterthought.
Exactly. And I hope that much the same way as the books went, it improves for them because, and this plays into Bridgerton news, how somebody, you know, everybody's mad that we didn't get Romancing Mr. Bridgerton. And this is the biggest scene that tells us that.
Oh,
okay.
We did get some like backgroundy information that like Portia is going to be making Penelope and Colin's life a little bit miserable next season. I don't remember where I saw it. It was somewhere in the Reddit threads of like people hearing.
Well, I think Polly Walker in like a red carpet or some sort of interview said that she's still going to be schemy because Portia is schemy. And so we don't lose the Portia that we've come to love, but it's, that's where I was going. Thank you.
Oh, good. Thank you.
Finally,
you're welcome.
The train is back on the track. So the line in this chapter
got me.
The line in this chapter that got me, because so many people are upset. I've seen it in comments and posts where they're like, all Penelope wanted to do is get out of her house. Get away from her family. And now Bridgerton, the series, Shondaland, Netflix, due to finances, have put them back in Featherington House. Yes, they painted it. They changed up the sets a little bit so it's more Colin and Penelope, but Penelope is still in the crook of
So
the
do we
people
talk
that
about
abused
do we
her.
talk about that, or do we talk about it in the next episode where we
No, because it goes in with the line in this chapter that we read. And I
Okay.
think the reason fans are so upset about it is because even in this chapter, Colin said he cannot wait to get her away
away
from
from
her
her?
ridiculous family.
And I do feel like, yes, they are ridiculous, but to phrase it in such a way it makes him snobby. Like, I am so much
He's
better than them. I am educated. I am intelligent. I am a Bridgerton, and they are just Featheringtons and Featherington adjacent. Like, it felt like just.
But that's what I love, because we get that feeling. How Colin is in this chapter.
Yeah.
Is exactly how Violet and Anthony view the Featheringtons. This is the reputation the Featheringtons have in society.
Mm-hmm.
Only they don't have
Dim-witted
Colin
idiots.
say it now. And why don't they have Colin say it? Because Colin
Portia
loves
isn't
Penelope.
stupid.
Yeah, Colin
Portia is so far from stupid in the series. She is cunning. She is probably one of the most intelligent women of the ton, hands down.
They make her dim, and her other sisters are dim, but she ended up with 2 smart daughters and 2 dim-witted daughters.
You know how you can be perceived as ditzy but still be incredibly intelligent. Like, I think she just doesn't have very good interpersonal skills.
Okay.
She doesn't have very good interpersonal skills. She's not very astute, but very good at schemes.
Mm-hmm.
But her schemes always fail because she fails to recognize people's individual personalities and personal intelligences and how those schemes will play into them, as in trying to trick Violet into not realizing Marina's pregnant and Penelope, who is a people watcher, is like, she will not fall for that. She has many children. Like, she is not so easily handled.
Easily managed.
Thank you. And I was close.
Yeah. But I think that a lot of fans are upset that they are not giving Colin and Penelope the life, because somebody even said, like, these are 2 people that love to work. They love their work. That is why living in Bloomsbury mattered. That's why it mattered that Colin lived there. That's why it mattered that he took Penelope there. Now they are still in society. They are now even more entrenched in society, being the parents of the new Lord Featherington. And she is having to live in the home that she grew up in, where she was abused.
Yes.
And that's rough.
I feel like it will be sort of healing in a way, in the way that beforehand she was just a passenger in her life, where her mother was driving the car and she's driving, in American terms, 100 down the freeway, in New Zealand terms, 200 down the freeway, the highway. And Penelope has no safety belt on, and there's no airbags, and there's no doors on the car, and it's on fire. And now she's the one getting to drive her nice, calm Prius, and it's nice and smooth driving. Like, I think it's going to be completely different, where, yes, I do understand what you're saying about them both being working class-esque in Bloomsbury.
And this is just me. I am commenting on what I have seen other Pollen fans comment on. This is not I don't want to say this isn't my own opinion, because I kind of see where they're coming from, but I did not generate this thought. I saw it from somewhere else.
I feel like they're going to be a team with Portia, and I think it's going to make all the difference. I think they're going to say, hey, Portia, we're happy for you to run the majority of this house. Like, we would like to redecorate and show this house brought all of us so much misery.
Yeah.
And Archibald was tied to so much of that. We're making a fresh start. This is now a Featherington, Bridgerton baby that's going to be the new lord of the house. Let's have the decor reflect that. Let's make it a light and happy.
Do you know what I would love? I don't want to say it sounds stupid, but I would love, because Archibald's room, Portia's kept her room. She's not in Archibald's room, right? Well, no, she did. She moved Archibald's room as a show of and
Penelope kept her room.
But we know Penelope kept her room. Wouldn't it be amazing if they still kicked Portia back to the lady of the house room, and their baby's room is now the Lord's room, Archibald's room, and it's this huge room with this tiny ass cradle in it? I think that would be so funny.
I think it will be. I think it's exactly, because we already know that Penelope keeps her room. We've seen the pictures, and that's
not what's supposed to happen. Like, they would get the Lord and Lady room, but
I think that
Portia would
Penelope's
get
room
Penelope's
was
room
always
in reality.
Penelope's room was always the place that she felt safest in that household. So I don't think that she would want to change it to go and live in her dad's room, where was the most unsafe place for her. I don't think she would have ever stepped foot in there, to be honest.
No, I don't either. Well, she will now that her baby's in there, but I want to see.
But when her dad was in there, I don't think she would have ever even been allowed in there.
I want to see you walk. Not you, but the audience. I want a view.
I'll just book my tickets to England.
Walking into this room, and it's immense because it's the Lord of the Manor's bedroom.
Yeah,
and all it has in it is like a chair for her to nurse, or the wet nurse to nurse, or whatever, and a little cradle. And it's swimming in space. There's so much space because this is not a room that you put a baby in.
Super off topic, but I feel like Penelope would nurse herself. I feel like Violet would be there with her being like, you can do this. Like, it builds such a connection with your child. I feel like
Violet would be. Yeah, I don't see Portia. I think Portia would always be like, you have the money. Why are you doing that? You can hire someone out.
We don't build bonds without children. What are you doing?
You're supposed to be sleeping on a different floor than your child.
Yeah. Okay. So where was my tangent for?
And this is what I was saying too. Like we as fans very much got a different season than we expected. And I think that's why season 4 is going to so closely resemble the book, because we are up in arms about it. We're still and I'm not talking you and me. I'm talking fans. Fans are still talking about this a year and 3 months later, that they did not get the book they love.
Yeah.
They didn't.
And when I complain about book Colin, it's not to say that I don't love the book still. I actually solely hold Julia Quinn responsible. And I don't at the same time, because she wrote to what was acceptable of the time. So we have to look at it through the lens of, in the 90s, these behaviors were acceptable.
Yes.
Well, maybe not in the 90s, but of a person in the 90s writing of the 1800s.
Well, no, it was very typical, even in romances. Modern romances.
Yeah.
It is
toxicity.
It is a standard. I don't want to say a trope. It's not a trope. It's a standard mode of operandi for writing a male lead character in your romance, that men
are controlling when they love you.
Men are controlling when they love you. Men are not in touch with their feelings or connect with their feelings until they fall in love. So they become immediately crazily overwhelmed with these emotions, and they don't know how to handle them. And that's what tells them they're in love.
Yes. And this angry protectiveness is sexy. And like, I get it.
Yes.
There's to be fair, there is a
jealousy,
lot of dark romance.
Wild jealousy is
wild
sexy.
Jealousy. Like,
I hate jealousy.
Except for in the ACOTAR series, because it's not even her mate that is they're not jealous. It's that crazy protectiveness. One of my favorite lines is you will not speak that way about my high lady. Like, he's like, the high lady, she's like essentially the queen of their realm, and she mated with his best friend. And they've been best friends because they're hundreds of years old. Best friends forever, like ride or die, literally ride or die, best friends. And so when someone insults her, he's like, no, you will not speak that way about my high lady. I will cut. And I'm like, yes, get him.
Well, defending your woman, like Colin in the book, you will speak to my future wife with more respect.
You will not sully our Bridgerton name. You will not
sully our Bridgerton name. Like, you will not speak about her like this anymore. And Portia, like, when we get into those episode analyses, like, that's one of my main things. It is not easy for Portia to not put down her daughter. She is very awkward, and she's doing it only because she's afraid of getting caught. Mm-hmm. She wants to align with the Bridgerton. She's not doing it at first because she wants to. That healing process was not as smooth as some people saw it as, right?
Yeah.
So it's very hard for Portia to respect Penelope in the way Colin asks. But because he was so adamant, she immediately does it, because she doesn't want to ruin this for Penelope, she doesn't want to ruin it for herself.
I saw someone asking in the Bridgerton page actually saying, do you think that Portia will still treat Penelope the same way in the next season? And like, if so, how will Colin deal with it? And I think she will. And I think that Colin is going to be there, that little looming over, because he's tall. Mm-hmm. Like, Luke Newton is a tall fella, and I don't recall what height Polly Walker is. I feel like she's average, maybe slightly taller for a female, maybe like 5'6", 5'7".
I would say she's probably like a 5'7", 5'8".
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm gonna Polly Walker height.
But anyway, like I see Colin, because Colin's always been a people pleaser in his own home.
So
And
she's 167 is 5'5".
67 inches is 5'7".
7 is 5'5". 5 foot. Well, rounding up to 5'6".
So you were doing what, centimeters?
Yeah.
I didn't
Kiwi.
hear that. I heard 67 and I was like, yeah, 67 inches
No,
is
not
5'7".
67, 65 inches. She's 5'5", 5'6". So she's average height for a female. And Colin's, he's tall. He's 6'1".
Yeah.
So I feel like whenever Portia puts down Penelope, he will be there like looming over her shoulder. Remember how you speak to my wife, Bridgerton.
Well, and here's the thing, because Colin does use his charm to like diffuse situations.
I feel like it would be, oh, you wouldn't possibly be speaking to my wife that way, would you, Portia? You surely didn't mean it that way.
Think about the teaser, with that scene, the photo of the scene where Portia is squeaking his cheeks. I think that's him creating himself as a buffer between Portia and her daughter in the moments, because healing is not linear. You take 3 steps forward, you take 2 steps back. And I think Portia tries, and she's going to really try, but there's going to be times that she struggles with not having control anymore, that she's going to struggle with Penelope's love story now so blatantly in her face, when I believe she also had a love story that didn't go the way she wanted it to, just from her lines in this season. So I think that that's going to be something that is going to mirror to her something that she lost or she didn't get to experience. And there's going to be a little jealousy there. And I think Colin sees this as an observer and as an empath. And he's going
Penelope's going to get everything that Portia ever wanted. She gets the name. She gets the Lady Whistledown name. She gets the money, the affluence. She gets to be the mother of the Lord. She gets love. She gets a loving family in the Bridgertons.
And she created her own security.
And I think that, and they even said this, that a lot of people are going to try and flock to Penelope in the season, and it is quite confronting for her because they wanted to align themselves with Lady Whistledown, which is part of the reason she stayed hidden all these years. And it's a lot for Penelope, because she's like, no one's ever liked me, no one's ever seen me, and oh, now I'm inundated. But what is genuine?
Yes.
Because a lot of the season was looking at genuine connections, and ingenuine as in, I don't think that, I don't know.
Cressida and Eloise were not genuine. No.
Because it was built on a foundation of lies.
We have a common enemy. That's all it was.
Yeah.
And when Eloise didn't want to be enemies anymore, her friendship with Cressida crumbled.
I actually think that for Cressida, it was genuine. And that's the sad part.
I think it became genuine. I think it started out as common enemy.
Yeah.
But then she realized Eloise actually very kind. Eloise actually is pretty nice. Oh, well, sometimes she's not. Oh, it's because she's questioning her friendship with Penelope again. And unfortunately, nobody is taking into consideration you can have more than one best friend.
I have this conversation with my son all the time. It's okay for your friends to have other friends because it doesn't make them love you any less, darling. But I mean, that's my son learning it at 4 years old, not at 18 years old.
Eloise and Penn being ride or die best friends does not mean that Eloise and Cressida cannot be very close, dear friends. It does not mean that.
It's called codependence.
I have multiple best friends. I have 2 very, very best girlfriends.
I don't even know how to limit. I could not limit it down to my hands and feet. I hate the saying that you cannot have.
You're very much like me. Like, I have so many good friends. Like, you guys have become good friends. My friend Leah, Teresa, Carolee, Christy. Like, I have really good. I'm lucky in that
I have
aspect,
a wide,
that I have so many good friendships with women. And so that's the part that kind of played ingenuine for me, is that Eloise completely just cuts off Cressida. Now, mind you, Cressida was in bad form. However, Eloise has a lot of forgiveness for Penelope based on her upbringing. And she's seen enough about how Cressida's parents treat her that she should be giving her the same grace.
I actually think that both Penelope and and Eloise will find a common footing in the next season. And I think that will be a very big part of Penelope's healing journey is
Becoming friends with Cressida.
Not necessarily friends, but like a tentative truce. A truce. And I think it is a really big part of Eloise's journey into learning how to empathize and understand and support other people, because so part of the news of this week is people, you know, musing over whether Francesca or Eloise's season is going to be next. For me, hands down, hat fully in the Eloise corner. But they also said that we're gonna have some sort of heartbreak this season. And see, people are saying, oh, that's going to be John. I think it's going to be Marina, and I think it's going to throw a lot of things off for a lot of people who, like, obviously Eloise has conversed with her. We may even get Daphne back. I hope we get, you know, Phoebe back for at least some of the future seasons. She's already said that she would love to. And Bridgerton are the ones that are the holdup. Maybe her price for coming back is too high, or maybe Bridgerton just haven't even asked her. I don't know what the go is. But a lot of people who've said we would love to return have not even been asked. So I don't know what's going on there. Bridgerton, sort yourself out, okay?
Bridgerton, I think there's drama behind the scenes that we don't see, and not that I'm playing into that, and I don't want to like.
I don't want to
speculate or anything, but I think there's a lot that doesn't get expressed to the public. In any given show, like finding out years later, like I grew up watching this, right? But finding out years later that those four women that played the best of friends, there was a lot of drama and a lot of you know, stuff, you know, finding that out later is kind of hard on me as a fan.
No, I
want you guys to be friends. I don't want there to have been any bad blood.
Well, and and look at how it played out this season for not this season, this movie for This Is Us, The Last of Us, or This Is Us.
No, The Last of Us. It can't be This Is Us, because This Is Us, they are friends. They are doing podcasts together and everything.
No. What is Blake Lively, just like that whole?
Oh, that's This Ends With Us.
This Ends With come on. They so similar names. This Ends With Us. Like,
I know, and you were naming two other shows that were real shows. This Is Us is a real show. The Last of Us is a real show. It Ends With Us as a movie.
We need to come up with more.
Quit using Chat GPT to come up with your title.
So, like, their rivalry lawsuits completely overwhelmed. Like, I was actually, like, through starting the press tour, I was really interested in watching this movie. Like, the press tour started out really, really strong. It sounded like a great book. It sounded like it was going to be a really good watch, and something that I'd go back and either read the book first before, or, you know, whatever. And then everything started coming out.
I'll read the book. I won't see the movie.
I was like, I'm not touching this with a 10-foot pole. Like, this is a mess. I don't even want any part of it. And I think a lot of fans were like that. And that's why the movie tanked, because if you have all the background drama that's going on in a series or a movie or a book, even Charmed, it kind of takes away from that happy, like, we're in post-COVID world. We want happy vibes. We don't want the drama. We don't want the messiness. We just want the happy vibes. Okay.
And that's the thing. I don't want to say Hollywood. I think it's the entertainment industry in general. So it's not just Hollywood. It's not just America. It's, you know, it's the UK, it's everywhere. These shows that gained popularity or gained, like 90210 had the drama. Let's get drama out there. Let's pit two girls against each other and say there's a rivalry.
Not just that. Look what's happened to the Harry Potter world. J.K. Rowling has completely tainted an entire world.
She is burning her entire legacy to the ground.
There is two camps of us. There are the camp that are like, hey, you created something so beautiful. We're going to separate you as a writer to the world that you created, and we're still going to enjoy it, but we're not going to support you. We won't buy the audiobooks. We have our books already, so like there's no more money in your pocket from it, but we cannot support you.
And I think for me, I need to find out.
She had a stroke or something. Like, something happened in that brain of hers.
Something, because she wrote she wrote the Death Eaters like
Yeah. The Death Eaters
Yahtzees.
were written in the image of Nazis, and
Be
how
careful,
Eric,
say
like the
Yahtzee.
I'm not
I'm not a fan of
American.
changing things either, but we're already, I mean, we're just going to say it for what it is. And if I mean, I do this for fun. I do this for fun with you. So it's not, if we get suppressed, we get suppressed. That's my
Yeah.
view of it. I'm not doing this to necessarily, I'm not doing this to become wealthy. I'm doing this because it's fun.
Yeah. It's wild to me to go from like clearly having one political belief and then just doing a complete 180 and going in the opposite direction is just wild to me. So for me, separating the second that drama hits, it just takes away the fact that we're escaping into these worlds
Right.
for joy.
Well, and that's what I'm saying. I think that the entertainment industry is a little behind the times. I think they still want drama to work to get people to watch something because they want to see if they can see it play out on screen. I saw their eye twitch over there on the side. You know what I mean? But drama, we don't want drama anymore. We want casts that are literally friends. I don't even need them to be best friends, or I don't need romances to have occurred on a show. What I need is to know people go, show up to work, know their lines, do their stuff, and create entertainment for me.
One of our Bridgerton news this week that fits into that exact thing is the fact that Phoebe Deniver has played in Ed Sheeran's new music video that is dropping this week, I believe. And so what it was
Canberra, no, he's already putting little clips of it out, and it's so sweet.
No, but the whole thing.
Yeah.
So what that is those are recreations of real clips that he had taken with his wife, and the original thing was they were going to post
their own real stuff,
actual snippets of their family life together, but then they decided together that they've kept their relationship and their lives together incredibly private up until now, and as much as he wants to share it, and I'm sure he has his own version of this with him and Cherry, and it's just for them to watch, but they recreated all the clips with him and Phoebe, who plays Daphne, who plays Daphne in Bridgerton, and they've recreated all the family clips together, which I think is going to be beautiful, and I can't wait to see it. And I love that he has now, he's a little Ash Ketchum. He's catching all those Bridgertons and putting, I would love if he made a music video with like a bunch of them.
That would be hilarious.
And they're out playing
and I think
croquet or something more, less on the nose.
I think that some fans are confused about who's going to be the next season also, because
I would die if they have Ed Sheeran pop in as a surprise guest like they did on Game of Thrones and he sings a song. Sing me the song!
Oh, we've talked about before.
Sing me the song of your people.
We want to flash forward, and he is the grown-up little Lord Featherington. I think that would be adorbs all day long. But
we actually have very little gingers in Bridgerton. Sarah posted a puzzle the other day, of a Bridgerton puzzle, and she posed the question of how many people
that one you said was the footman was dressed as a lord.
I know, and that's what I thought.
But I think they made him red haired just because he is talking to who was obviously Lady Trowbridge. Yeah.
So that was why I put him as the footman, because I was like, he's the only redhead that we actually see in Bridgerton from my knowledge. So even though he's still the father to the Lord.
Right. And I'm like, why in the world do they have Sienna singing for a dance that she's watching Anthony with Kate? That is terrible. Sarah, that is horrid. But I think that a lot of people think it could swap because there is a lot of PR around Hannah Dodd right now out there.
Yes.
And I was like, I even thought for a second, like, Hannah Dodd's getting all these interviews. Maybe that's getting her in the eye because they're about to announce her. But she is just like, I mean, all the Bridgertons flock to the stage when Bridgerton is done filming. She is currently doing cabaret. And
interesting. She'd be great at that.
She's supposedly she's fabulous, and she's drawing a name for herself away from Bridgerton already from doing this performance.
I could see Eloise, I could see Claudia as like some sort of game show host, like an IQ kind of host. Like some kind of comedy.
Let her take over for who's doing it now? What's her name? She was on Glee. Oh,
not Naya Rivera.
No, the Sue Sylvester. It's killing me.
Jane, someone.
Not Jane
Anyway.
Seymour. That's somebody completely different.
We need to wrap up this episode.
Let me finish this. I'll do. I hate when I can't close a loop. Jane Lynch.
Lynch.
I could see her doing the weakest link. I could see Claudia Jessing going, and you are the weakest link.
Goodbye. And she'd make it so dramatic and hilarious. But yes. For today, gentle leavers. For today, gentle listeners, leave us alone. Leave us. You're a gentle
leave
leaver.
Us.
Leave us. Be gone.
Felicity, Penelope, leave us. Felicity, stay here.
Be gone with you. We will leave it there and continue on next week's episode. If you have anything in particular you would like us to cover or any Bridgerton knowledge you would like to share, please head to our Facebook page, The Ladies Bridgerton. And if you're enjoying our podcast, please remember to click like, subscribe, or leave a comment wherever you are listening / watching.
And once again, thank you for listening to Who Mad.
Yes, Julie.
Yeah.
Every week I forget that it's my line.
I'm like,
Dash the Kiwi.
Felicity, do you know who you are?
Felicity. Penelope.
Oh, sorry, Tosh, didn't see you there.
Dash the Kiwi.
And Lady Patty.